So, my name's Olivia. I'm an animal science student at the University of Maryland. Would you like to introduce yourself and talk about what you do? Oh my goodness.
Hi. Sorry. This is my Jack Russell just wanted to join us.
Oh, welcome to
my name's Sabrina Moore. This is Kenzie. Say hi. Quickly here. Anyway, so I have many talents and I wear many hats, but one of them is equine massage, sports medicine therapist. So
That's awesome. So what does a normal day at your job look like?
Well, I I also own a farm, which you can kind of see this thing behind me. So I have a really busy long day with horses, and this time of year actually this year with COVID has been really bizarre as far as the equine massage aspect of my business. The last several weeks, though, things have been really busy. I've had a lot of new clients reach out to me that have heard about me through word of mouth and friends and stuff. But my normal days are, I don't know, I get up at 4:30. I go to bed somewhere around 10. I do lots of stuff in between. So,
So is it pretty routine, or it changes day by day then?
I would say that for the most part, I have a routine that I follow, but a lot of, like I said, like a lot of the new clients I have for massage and are things that I typically try to do those during the day or during the late hours, depending on, how much daylight we have and kind of what other people's schedules can accommodate. So
awesome. Do you have to have any special certification or take any certain classes or have experience to become a massage therapist?
So for the state of Maryland, the state of Maryland, you cannot be licensed to do equine massage therapy, because in order to be licensed, they have to regulate you, right? They don't have a standard like a veterinarian or a dentist. They don't have a standard that they can then use as their, to judge what people, can meet that standard by testing. So you can be certified. What I did is I did a program through Animal Dynamics, which is in Reddick, Florida. That is a 2-week program, 2 weeks, like 8 hours a day program. And at the end of it, if you have to take written tests, and you have to do hands-on tests and that kind of thing. And at the end of it, then if you pass, they give you your certification. So that was what I did for the massage therapy. There were some people that have taken that class that I talked to that were there that liked horses and liked animals, but they weren't necessarily really true in-depth horse people. But I definitely think that, doing anything with horses, that it's, horses are their own special club. And the more experience you have with them on the ground or riding or anything like that, the better chances you have of actually being successful.
So what kind of things do you learn in these classes for the certification? Like, do you do more hands-on things, or is it like, I don't know, do you learn stuff about horses while you're doing it too? Or certain particular things about horses?
So a lot of the way that my class, sorry, my dog's now needing attention. The way that my class was structured was we had our morning session was essentially lecture, right? Mm-hmm. We had workbooks, we had diagrams. We learned not only about the muscles and the skeletal system and the physiology and biomechanics of the horses, but then in the afternoon we then would go to different barns and start to be able to kind of piece some of the things we started learning together. I will tell you, as you can gather, I work very long hours and have for the majority of my life. That was an exhausting 2 weeks. Really? Mentally, physically exhausting. Yeah. It's a lot of knowledge, and I would say that they were able to break it down in a way that, everything made sense and you could follow it. And, as long as you were, really putting in the effort, you could learn it. one of the things that I did really enjoy about that specific course is that, like, I'm a graduate A in Pony Club, so I have a lot of other knowledge and riding knowledge, and, you know, I compete, I train my own horses, you know, I train others, I teach lessons and stuff. So I've got a really good, I've had a lot of experience with a lot of different kinds of horses. And the more that you watch horses, the more that you can kind of start to pick out, you know, maybe a horse travels a certain way, or maybe it jumps a certain way. And most people will assume that that's just how that horse goes, or that's just the way that it naturally jumps. And given a course like this, you can actually start to pick apart places in the horse's body where maybe it's not using, you know, certain aspects that it could be using better. And you're able to start recognizing that. And I found that initially to be very interesting and fascinating, and then to put my hands on the horses and have their bodies be able to tell me, a thorough story about, you know, how they were training, what their, you know, if they had any metabolic issues, if they had hock problems, you know, some really interesting things that you can't always pick up. You know, they can be some very quiet things that could be passed over even by veterinarians, farriers, trainers, you know, things that could be lingering, or, you know, just kind of right underneath the surface that could be an issue. I thought that was exceptionally interesting.
That is really interesting. A lot of the same things can happen with humans, I guess, in
Yeah.
massage therapy. Like you have
Yeah.
injuries that you have no idea about until someone's feeling it out.
Right.
So I guess that leads into, do you see clients like only for rehabilitation and therapy, or do you have some clients that get massage for like luxury or, you know, fun, like people do?
I mean, so I I actually kind of laughed at that question when I read it, because I specifically do horses. I don't think any horse is like, oh, this is going to be my spa day, and
Yeah.
I have a nice relaxing massage, right? But their owners or their trainers, or, you know, I've even, you know, worked on horses that don't necessarily like have any trouble, or, you know, everything's going well. They're just either the owners, and sometimes it's a gift where they're like, oh, you know, I want to show appreciation for my friend or my trainer, whatever. So, you know, I bought her this massage for her horse. Um, and I have worked on horses that don't have any like glaring huge, like, you know, we can't pick up the canter, or, you know, we're recovering from, you know, this injury kind of stuff. And those horses I do see fairly regularly as well. I do see a lot of horses that are competing, and uh, I've been happy that I've been able to help change some owners' minds and some trainers' minds, that, unlike necessarily, you know, normal vet work, right? Where it's like, okay, we need to inject this horse's hocks once a year, or, you know, farrier, that kind of thing, where you're not going to make a change until it's necessary. I've been able to help some of these people start to realize that just incorporating even a couple maintenance massages in a year, that they can kind of keep on tabs of their horse, that they're able to do a better job of distinguishing between what could potentially be a soreness or possible lameness coming up, and a training issue. So I do think that it's, to kind of answer your question, but to say that there's a broader range with horses versus, you know, a luxury, you know, relaxing afternoon massage than,
Yeah.
you know, hey, I'm an athlete and I'm injured massage.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, do you think that horses could benefit from getting massage even when they don't have a glaring injury or a glaring issue with their movement?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, like, I try to be very honest with, you know, with my clients, and whether they're new clients or older clients, as far as, you know, there's going to be times in the horses, especially if they're coming back from a break, or if they're kind of moving up to the next level and they're having to increase their workload, that those are the times that you want to do a massage, just kind of check in with their body, make sure everything's going well, and be able to, you know, kind of keep your finger on anything that could be, could be potentially setting you back. Sometimes during those periods as well, I've been able to kind of help be like, hey, look, I think that we need, you need to look into making a small adjustment with your saddle, or maybe it's possible that I can also help them I can feel the quality of the muscle, if that makes sense. And sometimes the muscle health will actually be something, because there's so much muscle mass in the horse, right? And so much blood that runs through it, and so many chemical properties that are happening within the muscles. Sometimes you don't have like a metabolic disorder, or a horse that's been tying up. You may not necessarily know that that's kind of lurking under the surface, but if I can step in at some point, I have been able to in the past, been able to say, hey, like, for example, a friend of mine has a mare who had started stopping, and she's not a stopper, right? She's always been a really pretty honest jumper. She asked me to come over and work on her, and I told her that I thought her muscle quality felt to me like she had been tying up, but she hadn't done it enough to be clinical. So it wasn't something that had come to her attention, and she was able to consult her vet and make a diet change, and that's all the mare needed in order to go back to being, the healthy jumping performer she was.
So are there like busy and slow times in your job, like times where you see more clients than normal or less clients than normal?
Typically speaking, the summers and falls are usually pretty busy. I feel like, for whatever reason, spring and winter, I kind of have my usual people that are pretty diehard, pretty regular riders. They know that they have their horse has had, some issues in the past, and they like to kind of do what they can to keep on top of everything. This year, like I said, it has been really strange because I was pretty quiet for months, but I mean, COVID, like no one could go to the barn anyways.
Yeah.
And then I think that this fall, people kind of got the bug. They're like, okay, like we have some money again. We're going to go hit up these shows, and we're going to hit up a bunch of shows in a shorter amount of time than normal. And that kind of seems to be more what typically happens as far as like a more normal year, where the end of summer coming into fall, and the fall season is usually the busiest time for me.
Very cool. What do you like best about your job?
I actually really enjoyed this question. Something that I didn't anticipate when I took the course was, excuse me, something I really, really enjoy is being able to give back part of my knowledge and part of my, I guess, wisdom. I mean, I'm not that old, but I'm old enough where it makes me feel really good that I'm able to, connect with the horse, and a horse I don't know. I mean, the horse doesn't have to let me touch it. And I find it actually to be very special that, they'll let you in, they'll let you tell you what's wrong, what hurts, what doesn't hurt. And I can give that information to their owners. That's something that there's been days where I've just had some really, everybody's got some crappy days, and I've had a massage scheduled, and I'm like, oh man, I'm just not in the right mental space to do this today. I should really cancel it. And then I'm like, no, don't do that. Just go. And it's being able to focus out on an outward, on a horse, something, a horse that might have some issues, feeling like I can make a difference has made a huge, huge difference in my attitude. And, I don't want to say, maybe it feels like what, like, really volunteering feels like, when you can, put yourself out there and do something good for someone else. But that's kind of the lines I feel like it's on.
I feel like that's the goal that's my goal for my career when I get there. Like, I don't want to feel I want to feel like I'm doing something like outwards than just what I do for my
Right.
job.
Right. No, and that's definitely cool.
What's the most challenging thing about your job?
So I would say that, I mean, right now, I'm pretty fortunate. I have a pretty good reputation, at least I think so. And I mean, I think so, but I get to work, and I get to work with horses and owners of all different, riding styles and walks of life and, ethnicities and all those kinds of things. And I really do enjoy that because to me, it's, we're all in the same playing field. Um, but one of the biggest challenges that I had initially when I came out of this program was I was younger. I had a lot of knowledge from Pony Club, a lot of experience from my own riding, and I would be in a position where I would go to a facility, go to a barn, have a bunch of horses to work on, and I would have people say to me like, "Oh yeah, that sounds great, but you're just really too young to know that." And I kind of blew it off for a while because I was like, okay, whatever, they just don't know me. But I had I had to take a step back the first couple years I was doing this because it was really frustrating for me. Like I was constantly running into this roadblock of, yeah, your knowledge is good and the way you work with the horses is great, but you're just so young. I was probably, early 20s, 20 or so, and I can understand that. I I guess I would sound like, or because I even then had a lot of experience, was newer to the massage, but I had a lot of other horse life experience that I was trying to bring with me, and it was exceptionally frustrating to basically have people, and whether, I mean, some of them were veterinarians, some of them were farriers, some of them were trainers, that would just kind of be like, yeah, okay, cool, but like you're young, and not be able to be more open-minded about the knowledge I was trying to share with them. I don't run into that issue now, but it was definitely something in the first couple years that it really upset me, and I kind of had to take a step back and pick and choose what clients I wanted to do and what new clients I turned down probably a fair amount of new clients because I didn't want to keep feeling that way, right?
Yeah. Right. Do you face, trying to think about how to ask this. Do you see criticism from like your clients? Like I know in other jobs, like in the restaurant business, for example, like people have to deal with a lot of things from like the customers and from their like supervisors or other people in the industry. Like, do you mainly see those kind of questions and challenges from other people in the industry, or do you have clients that say things like that too?
I would say that, I mean, my role as a massage therapist is kind of just, um, it's an addition. It's definitely, I don't know what's wrong with their horse as far as, oh, like your horse has Lyme's disease or your horse has sore hocks or whatever. Because one, I can't diagnose. I'm not a veterinarian,
Right.
but I have had a few instances where, I'll say like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. It's, in the past and other horses I've worked on, this is what has ended up being something that was a cause of this. I really think that you should look into that. And I typically don't have too much direct feedback from other parties, if that makes sense. But I have had a few times where I have been very diligent about. Now I have both of my dogs here. So I have my big dog behind me. Get down, Kissy. I have had to be very diligent about for instance, a horse that was really. No, we're not having a dog fight on my lap. A horse that was really, really in a fair amount of pain, and I had told the owner, like, look, this is what muscle I think this horse has really damaged, this particular muscle, and I think this, the equine hospital needs to try to do what they can to ultrasound it or whatever to try to make a confirmation. And even having spoken to the veterinarians, even having written sorry, I'm sitting down, they're excited. even having, written out something where I could explain very clearly and why, I'm not just out there with my crystals and my magic wand saying like, oh, I think it's this random thing over here. I was very specific about it. And I was told that as an equine massage therapist, I had no education and I didn't know what I was talking about. And that was exceptionally frustrating. And only to find out a few years later that not only was I right, and not only did the hospital determine that I was right, they would never admit that.
Right.
So, it was one of those things where I'm not doing this for any glory or anything for myself. I'm doing this because I'm trying to help this owner with a horse whom, he doesn't know what to do to help his pain. And, that was kind of a very particular instance, but I believe for the most part, I haven't really had to deal with a lot of that kind of criticisms. I mean, like I said, like the criticisms would usually just kind of be like, oh, whatever, she's just, a body worker, like, she's making that up or doesn't really count or whatever, which I have heard other people refer to as other, some other body workers like that. Yeah. But I don't know that that's necessarily a personal thing towards me. If it is, I'd be interested to hear it, but.
Is your job what you thought it would be when you first started or before you started?
I guess I'm actually fairly impressed with myself that I do still do this pretty regularly. And I just mean that not in, not in a way that I didn't enjoy it or I wasn't really interested in it, but just that it's been probably about 15 years now that I've been doing this. And it's definitely something that it can be really physically and mentally and sometimes emotionally consuming, but which is also part of the reason why I don't do it as my only income.
Yeah.
I like to balance things a little bit. So I like to actually enjoy being able to do it, not feeling like I'm, trying to schedule 10 horses a day and be, overdoing it myself physically. But I think for the most part, it's yes. I don't know. That's really helpful, isn't it?
Well, I guess you could go like, what skills did you think that you would need for your job that you had to develop once you got started? Or what skills have you developed since you started your job?
Well, so one of the things that they did kind of touch on at the class that I took was like the business aspect of it, the scheduling aspect of it, how to value yourself, how to, what kind of service you really want to offer, right? And like I know I've been to big competitions and seen some body workers there, and that's kind of their main thing is they'll travel from the big competitions to the big competitions. And I didn't necessarily wanted to do that, right? Because I like building those personal relationships and being able to be more one-on-one, more in depth, be able to give some knowledge to help for the long term, as opposed to just kind of hey, I'm just here to kind of loosen your horse up a little bit before dressage. And I guess definitely something, I've had to kind of learn, I mean, what you kind of have to learn anyways, is how to honestly juggle your schedule appropriately. And like I said, like you don't want to schedule 10 horses in one day. You want to be able to do it in such a manner that's sustainable and that you're going to be able to have enough that you can put the effort and put the time into the horses correctly.
Very cool. Well, we kind of talked about this question a little bit already, but how much does your job affect your lifestyle, and how does it affect your lifestyle?
Well, considering this is only one of like many things that I do, I don't, I guess in general, it doesn't negatively affect my lifestyle. Part of what I do enjoy about this is that I can pretty much do it anywhere, anytime, right? I don't have to, people don't have to send a horse to me. We don't have to do it at a specific facility, or during specific times, specific hours, you know what I mean? So it allows the ability to be very flexible. And I need that flexibility.
Well, like you have some other jobs, like this isn't your only job. So, are your other jobs related to horses too?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you didn't have other jobs related to horses, do you think that having a job like this would affect your lifestyle?
I don't think so. No. And I think the flexibility is a huge part of that. I also think it's pretty low overhead. So it's not like I have to go out and buy, $15,000 worth of equipment or something. I don't have to have a particular vehicle. I just need one that can safely get me there. And I do carry liability insurance for the massage. That was definitely something that, in this day and age, I felt is important. And it also kind of helps back up my professionalism. Mm-hmm. And I have like carbon copy sheets that I fill out for every horse. So, I bought maybe 500 of those for, I can't even remember how much I paid for them. But, again, I mean, we're talking basically, maybe $100 or so. And those last me, a year or two, 3 years. I don't know. I don't know how long I've had these. But, like I said, I don't have any special equipment. It's just me and my notebook, and I kind of doodle on my pictures, and I have a vehicle that gets me there. So it's pretty easy to fit that in, and kind of, as much as you want with a normal person lifestyle.
Well, that's awesome. I think flexible jobs like that, I feel like, make it feel like less like a duty, I guess.
Yeah.
So so you mentioned that there's not a lot of overhead because you don't require, for the most part, special equipment, but what would a salary be like for someone just starting in massage therapy versus someone with like 5 to 10 years experience?
Well, I mean, I'll give you the information that I basically understand. So, because I do work for myself now I have spiders up here with me. This is fine. Yeah, it's fine. I'm surprised there's not birds or anything, and my cat isn't up here. My cat's usually around somewhere. So I charge the same per session that I've charged my entire career. I do know that with my experience, I could increase my rates, and it would put me, closer to where some other people with similar levels of experience and years of experience would be. But I don't choose to increase my rates because I like to be accessible for the everyday person as well. And that's something that's really important to me, right? Someone who wants to invest some in their horse. I don't want them to feel like they can't afford it, or they can only afford it once in a, blue moon, or, with some Christmas money kind of thing.
Right.
But as far as a salary, I don't know. I don't know that I'm any helpful with that, besides some questions I'm really good with. Other ones I'm like, obviously, I don't know. I don't know what normal people do. I just know what I do.
Well, then, do you think that, you said that there are other people that have the same amount or more experience than you do that charge differently than you do. Do you think that having more experience or having more degrees or certifications would affect your salary or could affect your salary in the field?
I believe so. Yes. I actually inquired several years ago to work with another equine sports massage therapist. I was just interested in doing some like winter work down south, where, you know, it's always nice to kind of see, you know, get some more experience and, you know, some more knowledge from someone else who's been in the business and who I'm sure has her own ways and her own, you know, mythology.
Method.
No, that's methods. Thank you. I do English. And she went, it was not a good experience talking to her because she initially was very interested in me. I told her everything I'd done. She knew some members of my family. And when I actually spoke to her in person, she told me that she would not allow me to even just kind of shadow under her because I didn't have my human massage credentials. And I you know, I inquired if that was something in the states that she's been in, if that was something that helped her kind of alleviate some of the issues as far as, you know, some states are like Maryland can be a little funny about equine massage therapists, equine dentists, people that aren't doctors but are doing something sort of medical. Not that I think like muscle work is medical because it's completely non-invasive. You know, I'm not using any tools or anything. It's just my hands and my elbows sometimes. But I wasn't able to really get an answer from her about that. But I think that was just her. That was the route that she went. She started off as as a human. And I don't even know if she actually had any or had specific equine certification experience, or if it was just something that she'd kind of developed herself and was able to, you know, obtain some fairly big clients that way. I'm not sure, but you know, I'm one of those people that after like a pretty you know, experience is going to turn me off. I'm just like, all right, well, I'm just going to go back over here and do what I was doing. So I didn't really ever pursue that any further.
Well, this question wasn't, I didn't put this one on my list, but now that you mentioned some other jobs that aren't like vets but do certain medical things, I was wondering about like, you mentioned equine dentists, but what about, I've seen a couple videos of like equine chiropractors or big animal chiropractors. Have you ever had any experience with people that do that kind of work, or what do you think about that kind of work?
So yes, actually, my mother's actually an equine chiropractor.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's very fortunate. To be an equine chiropractor, in order to take the course that the American Veterinary Medicine Association, I think, right? Is that it?
Yeah.
In order to take that course, you must either be a vet or a human chiropractor. I have run across, and you know, in my years doing this, people that are neither, that are doing and claiming to be equine chiropractors. That terrifies me a little bit, and I think that's again part of where, like I was referring to, like, you know, like in our state we can have a certification, but there's no real way to license us because there's no real standard.
Yeah.
I think chiropractic is very important. I think a lot of horses, it's really beneficial. And I've actually had cases that my mother and I will have like a particular case that she and I will work on a horse together. So meaning she'll go, okay, I'm having trouble getting this area here to release. And then I work on some of the muscles so she can get the joints to release back to where they need to go.
Right.
But it's very, you know, and like with anything, everybody's a little different. I have come across people that, you know, like for the chiropractic, for instance, that their price points are $150 a session. And then I know people that are $80 a session. I don't think it's necessarily about quality, but I do know some chiropractors that make it a bit more of a show, if you will. And they want to kind of come in and talk about this and explain this and have you, you know, do these exercises and do these things. And, you know, my thing is, as long as they're actually taking into consideration the horses that they're working on and, the strengths and weaknesses of those horses. Not every horse can be massaged the same. Not every horse can be have a chiropractic adjustment the same, right?
Right.
And that's something I have seen, and I've talked to people who have said that they've, got their horse adjusted for the first time and that they were really sore. And that kind of disturbs me a little bit, because like with anything, like with massage, chiropractic, acupuncture, any of these things, you have to be listening to the feedback of the horse, right? You can't go in with a person and have them screaming and crying the whole time, and you're going to bruise them because you're using too much pressure, because it's too much for that person. So unfortunately, horses can't necessarily scream at us, but they have, leading back to our early question, like that's when it's really important to be able to understand horses and, read their feedback. So you're always better to err on the side of caution than you are to ever overdo anything. The last thing I want a horse that I've worked on is to feel pain or stiffness. I want them to feel, oh, that's kind of cool. I can kind of move a little bit easier, right? And then the next time I come to work on them, they remember that. And
Right.
I'm able to kind of use that accumulation factor. So.
Right. Earlier you mentioned when people were questioning your knowledge, you said something about you don't just go in there with your crystals and magic wand. Um, in human massage therapy, or people that do massages and certain kinds of therapy like that on humans, they do use other methods like crystals, essential oils, like vibration patterns, stuff like that. Do you use anything else besides your hands to provide the horse therapy or rehabilitation, or is it just like a physical thing?
No, I really just use my hands. I think a lot of times, you have to remember, like, horses are fight or flight creatures. So you don't want to do anything that's going to confuse them or alarm them. And I have seen even some small, like handheld, like vibration products and stuff for horses. And I think that a skilled massage therapist is going to be more effective than that.
Right.
And part of that reason is that I can feel, like I was talking about, the muscle quality. I can feel the health. I can feel when things are starting to loosen up. And at the same time, you have to know when to back off, right? You can't just loosen up an area that's really tight to the point that it's going to be bruised. It's going to be stiff. And I have, I'm not knocking anyone else's methods. I just kind of, I have used some people before I went to through this program that were a little negative about, the expectations I had of my horses as far as, the level of competition we were competing at, and some of their some of their ideas about what's fair, what's not fair. And I'm like, you're here because I want you to, help. That's like you're part of a team. But, she didn't necessarily have crystals or magic wands or fairy dust or anything. But I just, I prefer to get, just get the feedback that I can through, the manual aspect of it.
All right. Very cool. Well, I've gone through all my questions, as I'm sure you know, because you read my list, but I guess we could end by me asking if you have any advice for someone that wanted to get into a field like this. Like what kinds of things would you suggest they start doing, or practicing, kind of skills they should develop, things like that?
I think that, for somebody who has a basic horse knowledge, can understand how to be around horses on the ground. Some things that are some skills that I would think would be useful is being able to, you can Google some YouTube videos and stuff, and actually kind of, there's some people out there that have made videos about, like, hey, these groups of muscles will restrict this kind of movement, and just starting to kind of train your eye on even just that kind of those kind of basics, because the more, that's something that's going to take a lot of time to develop. And it's something that I was very fortunate to, grow up around horses and be, at competitions, and, have access to watching competitions and watching, how different horses move. And I think that that's something that, especially in our day and age now, where, you can access so many videos,
Mhm.
it should be something that, it needs to be an important part of it.
Awesome. Well, that's all my questions. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we conclude our interview?
I don't know. I don't think so.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you for answering all my questions.